Hi friends, and happy Halloween from Hendrick Home on the Highway. Today's video is just kind of a quick look at some things that we did this year for the Halloween festivities. So at the campground that we're staying at, which is Camp Atterbury, Whitaker Place at Camp Atterbury in southern Indiana, we actually celebrated Thanksgiving the weekend before. So it was just this past weekend. Everybody at the campground who stayed, we were letting them know in advance that there would be a Halloween party. We did a pitch-in soup lunch where everybody just brought soups and it was fabulous. We had crafts and we had cookies for kids to decorate. There were games going on. We had a costume costume contest for the kids. Even the adults got involved in the costumes, which you'll see a little bit later. We're going to do sort of a little slide presentation of some of the festivities that we had. But one of the things that we were doing in addition to trick-or-treating at the campsites for the kids where we had candy is if you wanted to do some adult trick-or-treating, that happened too. So I'm going to show you what we did in preparation for the festivities as far as our little special treat in addition to our candy that we had. And then at the end of the video, we'll do, like I said, a little photo montage and a little video of what ours looked like after dark. So hope you enjoy this Halloween edition of Hendrick Home on the Highway. So because we went with a Harry Potter theme this year for our Halloween decorations at the campground, I wanted to have a little something that we could give out to both adults and kids that went along with the theme of our decorations in addition to our candy. So what we decided to make was Jello shots, and we made two versions of these. And this year's Jello shot was Butter Beer Jello Shots. And butterbeer is something that they drink in the Harry Potter series, if you weren't familiar with that. So we decided to make them into Jello shots. So this one here, this is the adult version of the Jello shot, and it does have alcohol in it. And then the second one that we did was this one, and this is a kid-friendly version, both very similar flavors. But one is kid-friendly, or for those adults who chose not to have alcohol in there. So I'm going to show you how I made these. It was really simple, and I did have several people, after we gave them out, ask me for the recipes, so I told them they'd be able to find it on this channel. So let's talk about what this took to make. So here are 4 of the 5 ingredients that are needed for this particular recipe, and I do apologize that I don't have an example of the 5th item there, but unfortunately I used it all and I threw the box away and forgot to keep it, so I apologize, but I'll tell you what that is when we get to it. So the first ingredient for the alcoholic version is a vanilla vodka. I just happen to have Smirnoff, but you could certainly use any brand of vanilla vodka that you choose. Second item that we had is cream soda. This is IBC version. You can use any kind of white cream soda or clear cream soda that you want. You do not want to use the red cream soda. You definitely want to go with this clear cream soda. And then the other item is butterscotch schnapps. The 4th item is imitation butter flavoring. And then the 5th item, which is the one I don't have an example of, is unflavored gelatin. And the version that I used, or the brand that I used, was Knox flavored, or Knox unflavored gelatin. And in a box, there are typically 4 individual little packets. You will need 2 of those packets for a single batch of this particular Jello shot recipe. So now we're going to talk about how we're going to make it. So we're going to start with a medium-sized pan, just like the one you see here. And in this pan, you do not have to have it over the fire, but you're going to put 1 cup of the cream soda into the pan, along with 2 of those little packets inside the box of that unflavored gelatin. And you're just going to put that gelatin right on top of the cream soda in this pan, and you're just going to swirl the pan around like this. You're not really going to stir those two ingredients together. You just kind of want to swirl it together so that the gelatin is completely dissolved into the root beer, but not really stirring it. And then you're just going to let that sit at room temperature for 3 minutes. All right. And during that time, you're going to begin to see that gelatin sort of bubble up, and there will begin to be bubbles inside that cream soda and the gelatin mixture. After the 3 minutes of sitting, you're then going to put this pan on the stove, and you're going to put it over medium heat. And while it is starting to heat, you are going to add those remaining ingredients. So you're going to put 3/4 of a cup of the butterscotch schnapps into the pan. You're going to put 1/4 of a cup of the vanilla vodka into the pan. And then you're going to put 1 teaspoon of that imitation butter into the pan. And then you are going to begin to stir all of those ingredients. Now, like I said, you're going to do that over medium heat because you don't really want this to come to a boil. You just want to get it good and hot, and you want that gelatin to get completely mixed up with all the ingredients so that this will set up like a Jello shot when you're finished. You're going to let that cook for about 3 to 5 minutes, but again, you don't want it to come to a boil, so you're going to want to stir it constantly with a whisk. And you're going to watch that heat at right about the medium level. If it does start to boil, take it off. You're done. Okay? Once you're finished, you are then going to take those contents and you're going to pour them from a pan into preferably a glass measuring cup with a pouring spout so that you can easily pour it into the Jello shot cups. Now, you can see that I chose to use these cups. They're about 1 inch tall, and they're about 1.5 inches in diameter. I went with these because they came with lids, and I did want to make sure that I could cover these before I handed them out to people who were coming to trick or treat. And you fill those about halfway up in the cup. And the reason that you only go halfway is because we're going to add a little something special to this when we're finished, and we wanted to leave room for that in the cup. So about halfway up. You'll notice it does have sort of a little clear coloring, so you can see right through that cup, just sort of a little bit of a yellowish color. All right, so that is the alcoholic version of the Butter Beer Jello Shots. But because I knew that there might be a lot of kids who might be interested in these in tasting what butter beer tastes like, right? Because they've seen it on the Harry Potter show. So I decided to go also and do a non-alcoholic version so that kids could enjoy it as well. So with this one, we really did just about the same thing. The only difference is instead of 1 cup of the cream soda for the kids version, we're going to do 2 cups of the kids. And then to that, we are going to do just like we did before. We're going to do 2 cups of the cream soda. We're going to put in 2 packets of that unflavored gelatin. We're going to let it set just like we did before, swirling and then let it set. And it's going to bubble up as well, just like before. No difference there. This time, instead of adding the alcohol, I just added the caramel syrup. And I probably did about anywhere from 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of this caramel syrup. And again, like the last time, I did add that imitation butter flavor, and I just stirred it over the medium heat with the whisk like I did previously. Again, you're doing that for about 3 minutes. You're just wanting to really melt that gelatin, but you don't want to bring it to a boil. Once that was finished, I took it off. I poured it into the cups, again, using that glass measuring cup so I could pour easily. And this is the end result for the non-alcoholic. Now you'll notice you can't see my finger through this cup, so it has more of a sort of a pudding type appearance, right? It's got a little creamier look to it, but it did set up just like the other Jello shots, but it does have a different look, which is really good because if you're doing one that's alcoholic and one that's not, you can very quickly at a glance know which one you're handing to whom. Now, when we were done, we did put the lids on these. We refrigerated them for a little over 24 hours, and then they were good and set up, which was great. But when our guests came to the RV and we offered them to them, we would then take the lid off, and then we added a little something special. We would ask them, do you want whipped cream and caramel sauce? And we wanted to give them the option because we know that some people might be lactose intolerant, so we wanted to give them that option. But we did purchase, we just went with the store brand. This happens to be Kroger brand. And we got the kind that we could easily dispense. And we just took that item, we added it right to the Jello shots. And then on top of that, that very same caramel syrup that we used for the non-alcoholic version, we then put on top as a garnish. Again, we gave people the option to go with or without these two garnishes. Then finally, the other thing that we did, because the Jello is fully set up like a Jello shot. So for those of you who've had them before, you know that you can pretty easily get those out most of the time. But because we added the garnish, we wanted to make sure that people could get them out easily without getting that all over their face. So we did provide everyone with plastic spoons so that they could dig into that. And you can see that it does come out relatively firm there, all right? And it gave a delicious treat as people were walking around doing their trick-or-treating, especially for those who were trick-or-treating with their kids. The parents loved it just as much as the kids did. So there you go. There's my recipe for the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic versions of my Butter Beer Jello shots. Hope you enjoyed that little recipe for the Butter Beer Jello shots, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And now I'm going to show you what our campsite looked like outside after dark. So here we are. It is Halloween weekend. Actually, it's the weekend before, but it's Halloween weekend at Whitaker Place Campground at Camp Atterbury. So here is our campsite. So you'll notice we put the eyes on the front of our camper. We went with sort of a Harry Potter theme this year, so you can see the floating candles. We've come over here and we've got this giant spider web. That's Aragog the spider. And if you look really closely, all of his little children's spiders are also in that spider web. And then over here, we have our dancing, glowing broomsticks. Over here, we have our pumpkin, and we also have our Hedwig, the owl right here. And he glows as well. And then over here, we have three witches. They're hard to see in the dark, but three witches dancing around the cauldron. And we'll get these witches going here, and they will even make a little bit of noise for us. When I'm done with the video, I will show some photos that we took earlier in the day. When it was a little more daylight, you could see them a little bit better. But we have this backdrop hanging here on our awning. Just a really, just sort of a Halloween theme. And then we also have those free suspended candles hanging there as well. So here it is, Halloween at Whitaker Place with the Hendricks. And it's really fun because there are so many campers doing great things here this weekend. And now that you see what it looked like after dark, I'm going to show you a few of the pictures, like I mentioned in the video, of things in the daytime so you can see what they looked like before it got dark. So I hope this gave you a little look as to what Halloween can look like when you're living full-time in an RV, or if you're just coming to a campground for the Halloween weekend to enjoy the festivities. I have to tell you that we had an absolutely fantastic time this weekend. This is the first time we've ever done Halloween at this scale when we were camping. And it was just so much fun to be able to have fun with our neighbors, meet new people, share food, enjoy costumes, encourage each other as an RV community. So if you haven't ever done it before, I encourage you to find some place to spend Halloween with other people where you can celebrate the festivities together. As always, we're Hendrick Home on the Highway, and we're wishing you a very happy Halloween. We'll see you down the road.